getting into the duels is much more likely today?
It's hard to say. Look, yesterday I took a slightly different direction on setup before the race, and it was not the right direction, and I was a little bit weak over one lap. But obviously, I changed things for the race, and the direction came back to me, and the feeling came back to me. Today is a bit of a lottery. Look, I was quickest in FP, but you've got many laps to get up to speed and get comfortable. In a 12-minute session, it's going to be quite tricky to obviously optimize the conditions. Look, I'm just super open-minded. These conditions are tricky for everyone. These cars, with instant torque, yeah, it's quite a handful. So, look, I could be really strong. I could struggle. Who knows? But we think we made the right steps, and I guess we'll find out in a few minutes.
Do you enjoy driving in the race? A lot of the British drivers grew up karting in this typically British weather, so they're very used to driving in the wet. You're a Kiwi. You're used to sunnier sides.
I can be wet there as well, though. So, I mean, look, I've won in the rain. I've been really uncompetitive in the rain. It's just a bit of a roll of the dice. Obviously, you're going to get the tires in the right window. You're going to be comfortable. The surface is very unique. It's the first time we've kind of driven the car in the wet, to be honest. So, new tire, there's a lot to understand. But let's see if we can put it together. Lots
to keep you busy today. Thank you very much. Good luck for qualifying. Mitch Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing.
Yeah, thanks, Nicola. Very good interview there with Mitchell Evans. We were talking to Mitch Evans yesterday, and he was saying he just can't find the right balance for this track. It confuses him.
Yeah, it's a circuit he was not really confident about. And actually, I think if you look at what happened in qualifying, that was true. And he's not able to get a comfort level when it comes to peak performance in quali, and Sam was ahead of him on the grid. But I think when it comes to the race, you're not chasing that last tenth. It's about being tactical and strategic and making sure you're coming through the pack in the right way, taking the track position at the front to either get track position or save energy at the right moments. And he is a very good racer. He's a very good thinker. He's a very strategic racer, and that paid dividends in the race. But actually, in qualifying, he was behind Sam, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and it was a sterling race. It was absolutely awesome. Let's talk about your old teammate, Jake Dennis, shall we, Oliver? We're about to see, so far, slide of the season for me, this.
Yeah, and many points lost yet again. I think it's 3 or 4 races in a row now where, yeah, as you see, his team said that he had a technical issue with the brakes. I'm not sure how true that is. Very easily done, being so focused on getting to the inside of a defending car and then not realizing that the braking point has all of a sudden gone past you. So definitely tragic day for Avalanche Andretti and Jake Dennis, as well as for Antonio Felix da Costa, who was just an innocent bystander in that situation.
Yeah, what do you see in that term with your analysis, Karun?
I think he got frustrated behind Gunther. Max moved across to the left-hand side a bit more than Jake was expecting. He got on the dirty part of the track and just lost grip. And yeah, but as Oliver said, a whole load of points dumped there.
It was bonkers yesterday, wasn't it? 190 total overtakes on the track. Let's see if we can replicate that later on today, shall we? But first, it's time for qualifying. Here we go. Who's going to be at the top?
The first qualifying group is about to get underway in Berlin, round 8 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. And we are in for a very, very interesting qualifying session. There's not been a huge amount of wet qualies over the years, to be honest with you, but looks like we're going to get one today, that's for sure. The way it works is 2 groups of 11 head out onto the circuit. The top 4 advance through to the duels. The rest have their grid position determined by that. And it's Pascal Wehrlein who will be out in this session, along with Jean-Eric Verne, Jake Dennis and Antonio Felix da Costa. Those 4 really the sort of big 4 as far as the championship is concerned. Pascal is the big 1 as far as the championship is concerned. Alan McNish, the former Formula 1 driver and Le Mans winner and Audi team principal in Formula E, is alongside me. Fascinating session we've got coming up here, Alan, and it's really down. This morning in free practice, it was damp. It was kind of drying as the session went on. A big load of rain since then.
Yeah, completely. As the cars go out, and everyone will go out straight away. Only 12 minutes, Jack, and with lap times probably around about the 1:20 to start. And he did 1:15 this morning in free practice, but as you say, significantly drier. I think everybody will just want to run as much as possible and get the temperature, get the feeling, because this is a voyage of discovery, this first lap of qualifying.
Get involved using the Formula E Predictor, scan the QR code, it'll take you to the Formula E app, and you can get stuck in to all that stuff that is available, or head to, and you can head to FIAFormulaE.com/live to keep up to date with everything that's going on throughout the day. So, plenty of spray coming off the rear of the cars, and a lot of spray as they come down the back straight towards turn 6. Obviously, it's a very open airfield in Berlin, so it doesn't sort of hang around in the trees, as it were, but it is definitely quite a bit of spray nevertheless.
Yeah, there's a lot more standing water, and the concrete patches, you know, they're not porous, and so therefore the water doesn't drain into them very well. And but it's not at the point where there's big puddles and there'll be major aquaplaning. And as long as it doesn't race with 11 cars out in this session and 11 in the next, then it'll displace a lot of that sort of residual standing water. But what is very, very clear is it's slippery. We're going to see a lot of locking up of front brakes into this final corner. We saw it already this morning, and also some nice big power oversteer coming out.
Well, there's Florian Modlinger, the boss of the Tag Heuer Porsche team, watching his man, his championship leader, Pascal Wehrlein, across the line, down towards turn 1. The rules remain the same. You have to set a lap time in the first 6 minutes and then a lap time in the second 6 minutes. But we're anticipating that now the drivers are on track, they're just going to stay on track the whole time. This is what it looks like from Wehrlein's point of view.
As you see there, a lot of corrections just as he accelerated up between turn 3 and 4. Nice power out of it, but there you can see the spray up ahead of you. There's cars up ahead, but you just can't exactly tell where they are, and you're looking through. And you're also, the other thing, Jack, is you look at the peripheral vision, so to your right and your left as you're basically focusing straight ahead, and you pick up these identification markers, and that's important. The more spray, the more wider identification you've got exactly where you are coming up to the 100-meter braking boards, etc.
9.5 minutes to go. Wehrlein through the middle sector at 54.849. We'll just watch him across the, very, very deep into the hairpin there, and now up towards the final corner. Bit more wheel spin for Wehrlein as he comes in towards turn 10. And he's backed off, hasn't he? He's backed off here, so to get a good run out of this final turn.
They're all backing off to try and get it, and he's blocked his teammate as well, as Antonio Felix da Costas came out of the last corner as well. And so inadvertently, and it's what this qualifying is going to be. It's going to be a little bit like Monaco, where everybody's holding back to be last across the line or to get a clean lap.
Here's a look at René Rast. Perhaps a little oversteer here. Yes. Lovely.
I tell you what we're going to see, though, is some surprises in this session. This is a real roll of the dice. We saw that a little bit this morning with some names higher up the order than we've normally seen them. And I would expect that we're going to have definitely some surprises through the course of it. One of them has just gone to the top of the leaderboard, Nico Müller.
Yeah, Nico Müller in the app could be a good qualifying session for them. Karun is down in the pit lane. Thoughts on these conditions, Karun?
It's actually brightening up, Jack. As I look towards turn 1, it does look like actually the sun's threatening to peek through. So as Alan just said, I think the last lap, it's going to be the one. So they've all got to make sure, and the communication with the team has got to be critical here to make sure you're in the right place to have a clean run for the final lap of the session and get your timing right, because there's going to be a huge advantage there. What they're doing at this stage for the next 6 or so minutes is really about making sure they get the tyres in the right temperature, because the drivers were saying this is a harder tyre than they had previously. As we see Jake Dennis sliding on the white lines, yeah, it's a harder tyre, and they're really struggling to get enough temperature in it for when they have to hit it on the quick lap.
7.5 minutes to go. Thanks, Karun. Yeah, and the difficult part is in the dry, Alan. You know that a lap is 1 minute 5 seconds, so you need this much time to do your prep lap, so you can work it all back to comfortably work out, you know, where you want to be on track to start the lap at the last point. When the lap times are so varied and fluctuating and coming down all the time, presumably that's a little trickier.
It is a little trickier. They're 3.5 seconds slower than they were this morning, just due to the amount of rain dropped. Here's Dennis's radio.
210 sector 2, focus T7.
This is T7 now, the T's just coming into. Hopefully he focused through there.
And focus is one thing, trying to get the speed out of it's a different one. It's definitely easy to say looking at the data, but it's a little bit harder to actually doing it in the car.
Good lap this though from Dennis, a 10th up on Nico Müller's time at the moment. Nico Müller's best qualifying so far this season for the team has been 13th on the grid in Sao Paulo. So they've got a real shot of springing a surprise, the apt drivers, this morning. Dennis across the line ends up going slower than Muller by 9 thousandths. So Muller was quicker in the final sector.
However, he did get turn 7 right because he was quickest in the middle sector.
There's a tear-off coming off Degrassi.
No, he's wiping his visor because it looks like the water is kind of in between the tear-off and the visor or something. So he definitely has some vision problems there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Normally there's some, you have like the Harry Potter spell, right? Where you spray it and then it comes off the visor. There's
well,
some special
normally the
sprayers
speed sort of takes it off anyway, and it's a prep visor, clean and everything else. But yes, you can put a product onto it, which effectively is like a silicone, and then it will come up, let the water run off it. But not many people use that any longer.
Right, here we go with Nico Muller. Quickest man so far, the Swiss. He's just done a cool-down lap, so he'll probably be pushing this time around. Keep an eye on the tower on the left, because Jake Dennis is about to ping a lap in as well, as Muller fights the car. Thomas Biermeier, the team principal, in the bottom right. We'll get a first sector split from Muller after this corner as he heads down the back straight. As Karun mentioned, rain has stopped, so it's not going to get wetter, it's only going to get drier. He's a 10th down in the first sector, Muller. Dennis goes quickest, a 1 minute 19.2, big snap.
Yeah, big snap, but the important thing here, as Karun mentioned, is just making sure you're in the right place for the last laps. And that's going to be even more critical when the circuit is drier in the next group, in Group B, where there's a lot of people in the championship fight as well.
Yeah.
And so, here I still think you can sort of get away with it a little bit. You definitely can't in the next session.
Verline is there in 3rd place still at the moment in the Porsche. Here comes Muller towards the final left-hander. And out across the line. 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Does Muller improve? He does not. 4/10 slower in the end. Here's Jean-Eric Verne coming out across the line. He's 3/10 down after the middle sector. Verline in the Porsche has just done a very good sector 1. Verne does not improve at the moment. 4 minutes to go now, so we're getting quite quickly towards crunch time, and everyone pretty much has improved in the first sector here. So everybody looking pretty strong right now. Florian Modlinger at the Porsche team, as his man Pascal Verline comes through the middle sector and up towards the final corner. 5 thousandths down on Dennis at the moment. Quick sector 1, but lost a bit in sector 2. Tidy enough out of turn 10. Where does this put Verline? Quickest. A 1 minute 19.243 for Pascal Verline.
But still got some oversteer as he crossed the start-finish line there as well. So 3/4 way down the straight, the car's still moving around.
That's it, mate. Just keep pushing the whole way through.
Keep pushing the whole way through is the message from Kyle Wilson-Clark. 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go. This is Nico Muller, who is doing a personal best in sectors 1 and 2.
Very, very different line coming out the last corner. Keeps it super tight on exit and got a very clean run across the start line.
Muller, 3rd quickest.
0.1 of a second.
Our app's going to get through to the duels for the first time this season.
3 laps to go, currently still P3, 20 seconds margin.
20 seconds margin is the gap back.
Interesting choice for René Rast to come into the pits. He's a long way off the pace.
Tyre pressures.
3.3 seconds off. So
Yeah, they're doing tyre pressures here, and so they're adjusting the tyre pressure, dropping it down. So they maybe started a little bit high, didn't get the grip out of it they expected, and dropping it down.
So Rast will head back out of the pits in a moment. That was Felix Fechner you heard on the team radio to Nico Muller, but he's going to have tyre temperature issues, isn't he now, René Rast, if he's sitting in the pits like this?
If he's sat in the pits with warm tyres, probably not too much, because it would only be, a 30-second stop in that respect. But yeah, it's not your ideal scenario.
There comes Da Costa across the line and into turn 1, and René Rast just making his way out of the pits. He's only going to get 1 lap here, Rast. He's only going to get 1 lap.
But then again, at the moment he's 11th and he's 3 seconds off the pace, so therefore, he's got very little to lose.
True. So Muller improves back to the top of the time, a 1 minute 19.113, fastest final sector of anyone. 90 seconds to go. Da Costa's done a good first sector, 600ths away from Muller.
Muller's getting everything in that last sector. That is where he's really taken advantage through the hairpins at turn 9 and also out of the final corner.
The order hasn't changed much, has it, over this, as the session goes? It's always pretty much been Muller, Wehrlein, Verne and Dennis, the top 4. De Grassi and Roland have not troubled the front at all. And look at that gap from the top 4 back.
That's the problem, is from Dennis back to Da Costa, it's, you know, it's basically 5 tenths, 4.5 tenths of a second. And that is being kind of constant, as you say.
But this man we're watching, Da Costa in 5th place, is looking set to improve. He's 300ths up on Muller's time after the first 2 sectors, so he's going to chip away at the gap. Verne's done a reasonable sector 1. Da Costa will get another lap out of it, and he remains 5th, all in the final sector.
He's very close, though. Yeah. He pulled it in 3 tenths of a second there, closer, but it's still not enough. But he's 300ths behind, being in the duels.
Lucas de Grassi and Oliver Roland both struggling. Roland goes up into 6th place. De Grassi is not having a particularly strong run now. Muller is about to start his final lap, and Wehrlein is on his final lap. So Pascal Wehrlein is the championship leader, running in 2nd place at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on his time as well. De Grassi wrestling the car into turn 6.
Just doesn't look like they've got a lot of grip there. They're going through and the car's not moving or doing very much, but it just doesn't look like it's actually gripping to the road.
Wehrlein is 500ths up, going into the final corner now, and De Grassi goes so deep. That surely is too deep for Lucas de Grassi. Checkered flag is out, so the lap times coming in now are going to be the ones that will count. Jake Dennis goes 4th fastest, and that's where he's going to be there, right on the bubble. Wehrlein goes quickest. What can Lucas de Grassi do? Comes out and across the line. He's done a good first two sectors, actually, De Grassi, but lost so much time at the hairpin that he doesn't make it through. He kind of should have made it through there, De Grassi, were it not for that error. Da Costa misses out. Rast only goes 9th fastest. And I think it's only Roland that can spoil the front runner's party, but he doesn't. So that's it. It's pretty much done. There's a few laps to come in for Nato and Fenestraz in the Nissans. We've had a horrible time out there. But it is Wehrlein, Muller, Verne and Dennis that will advance through. Abt, for the first time this season, are into the duels. And Verne actually goes quickest right at the end. So Verne goes quickest right at the end and still books himself a place. So good for Wehrlein. First time in the duels this weekend. And first time in the duels in 3 races. And look at that. Thomas Beermeyer.
There's a few smiles there. Marcus Gruneger as well, sitting just beside them, and seeing some smiles in the app garage is really nice to see.
Thomas looks a bit emotional there, to be honest with you.
Well, it's been a tough year.
Yeah,
and also they've just now got 1 driver through in the duels, and with Robin Frins in the 2nd group, I would fully expect to think they can do the same again. Here's Lucas de Grassi coming into turn 9 at the hairpin on his last and final lap. And he went so deep. So he would gain coming in and he would gain coming out, but ultimately the loss was just too much. He was probably 1 or 2 car widths too deep into the apex of turn 9.
Home race as well, of course, for the app team. So that's an even more sort of special moment for them.
Well, home in the country, it's about maybe 800 kilometers south to Kempton.
Yeah, true. So Jean-Eric Verne, Pascal Wehrlein, Nico Muller and Jake Dennis are the drivers that will advance through to the qualifying duels. Da Costa will be on the 5th row of the grid. Terrible day for the Nissan powertrains at the back of the field. So Jean-Eric Verne quickest, Wehrlein 2nd, Muller 3rd, Dennis is 4th, and we can now go down to the pit lane studio and join Karun Chandok.
The first wet qualifying session we've had with the Gen 3 cars. So let's go on board with Jean-Eric Verne and take a look at what it's like behind the wheel. So heading down towards turn 1, he's been really having to wind on the steering lock, try and put some temperature and heat into those front tires. They're winding the lock on all the way around. And then when we get to the 2nd corner as well, just see the amount of understeer he's got in the car. Into the next left-hander, just slightly wide of the apex there, but at this stage, his head is thinking all about what happens around the corner, because you've got to unleash a whole load of power, and that right king In the dry, not really a problem in qualifying, but in the wet, it is a massive challenge. So watch his hands as he tries to put the power down. There, those snaps of oversteer, just trying to unleash the power and trying to put it onto the ground. Into the next braking zone, you can see just on the right-hand side, if you watch the tire there, there's a little bit of spray, there's a little river because the water collects along the edge of the wall. So he's got to just make sure he doesn't get caught out by that and lock a front wheel. No issues for Jev on this particular lap. Slightly wide at the apex, and that's pretty normal to see in the wet because he's just trying to carry momentum and again seesawing at the wheel to try and get the traction on the way out there. Towards a quick couple of corners, this is a massive challenge because you don't want to go too wide in that first bit and then lose the line for the second part. Jev judged that to perfection. Very close to the wall on the way out. And now this hairpin here, we've seen lots of different lines from drivers. Vern having a massive slide on the way in, actually takes his hand sort of off the wheel at some point, the right hand, gets it going, and then up towards the final corner of the lap. He knows he's on a good lap, he'll see it on his dashboard there. Goes a bit wide on the way in, but at that stage he's just thinking of lining up the exit. Exits not close to the wall on the outside, lining up from the inner part of the track and getting a good clean line up to the timing line. So yeah, great effort there from Jean-Eric Verne. And now back to Jack in the commentary box.
Qualifying Group B about to get underway then. Formulary predictor. If any of you had Nico Müller through the duels, then fair play. The car's heading out onto the circuit now as the concrete continues to dry. Nick Cassidy remaining in the pit lane at the moment, and Cassidy and Buemi, new teammates coming into this season, and they had a bit of a disagreement yesterday and also this morning.
You were quick, huh? What happened?
You was in front and then the pass. Yeah. You're screaming, no? You were down on energy a bit than them, or?
The energy was also different. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that was really kind of Seb. Wow, what a good teammate. Ah, what is he doing, man? Seriously, the guy, since yesterday, he's been on drugs. And the guy in front of me in the debrief will go, yes, Stoffel, I would be P1, but I got traffic. If my mom was a man, blah, blah, blah. Oh, man. That's frustrating.
Let's focus on, we can speak about later. Yellow line corner.
I don't even want to talk. In the debrief, it'll be
okay.
One way, and in the report, it'll be completely one way again.
So, yeah.
Certainly not all love there. Both drivers, though, I think are they know they've got a good car underneath them. They know that they've got a very good team behind them, and they've also both got something to prove because they both had quite difficult years in the last 2 years. It's important, I think, there, though, that the team calm that situation down because they're second in the teams championship. Yeah. They could potentially win drivers and teams this year, and so therefore they need both drivers to work together. Ultimately, they've got to scrap it out on track when it comes down to the final parts, but not in FP3 on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, no, they've certainly got the car to win both championships if they wanted to. Well, not if they wanted to, but if they were able to put it together in vision.
But I think at the end, you know, when you've got a team of two drivers, there can only be one top dog in it, ultimately, and both of them want to be that top dog. In this situation, I have to say, I don't think Sebastian did very much wrong in this morning's session.
But it feels, to me, it feels like a thing that, I don't know, has maybe been building for as the season progresses, you know. Yeah, and then everything your teammate does is the most annoying thing ever.
Yeah, you know, they're both quick. They're both, there's 14 points between them, and that could have been very easily a lot less with some problems for Sebastian. So in that respect, I think, you know, it's probably a luxury in some respects from a team's perspective. They've got two competitive drivers capable of winning races. Anyway.
Like that year we commentated on a whole Formula One season together. By the end, oh, every little thing you did wound me up. I'm not talking to Alan in the debrief. Right, 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go. Cassidy's quick at the moment. Van Dorn goes up into fourth place. Bird is quickest right now for what it's worth. Freintz has gone to the top of the time. 7 tenths quicker than anyone else. Both laps are flying. Cassidy into the final corner now, and he is pretty much matching Freintz through the first 2 sectors. So this is going to be a solid lap, I think, here from Cassidy. He goes second quickest, 2 tenths away from Robin Freintz. Here now is Sam Bird, just nosing to the inside to try and let the McLaren of Jake Hughes know that he's there. Bird is a 10th down after the first 2 sectors. Second place in the race yesterday, front row of the grid yesterday as well. And he'll be looking to continue that form on board with the other Jaguar of Mitch Evans on the right-hand side as he comes out across the line. Freintz has gone 4 tenths quicker than anyone else in sector 1. Evans across the line goes quicker, but Freintz has now lost a load of time in the middle sector, but Evans goes to the top on an 18.9. James Barkley watching, ticked him up into 5th.
Yeah, but Freintz's lap could still be second quickest overall so
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
even though he lost 4 tenths in that middle sector.
Sets a camera now up to 5th ahead of Tictum. Here is Robin Freintz. Through the final turn on the power. I feel like he might have backed off to set up for this one. We'll see on his, as he comes through, his Bird's radio.
Not going to get the extra lap at the end of the session, so yeah, big back off. Let's try and get track position for the last lap.
This is a push lap now from Robin Freintz, so let's stick with this because he just did a cool down lap, as it were, or got himself some space, and now the Dutchman's going for it.
As Nick Cassidy pops himself back up into second place, Robin Freintz, who I think should get through into the duels, just knowing what he's like in these conditions, and also seeing his teammate Nico Müller getting through in Group A. But Freintz, certainly there'll be a bit of action, there'll be a bit of throttle, there'll be a bit of oversteer, but it'll always be in that semblance of control. Look at that slide in the rear of the car coming in. That's what you need to do to actually let the rear of the car, old school style, let it pivot round. So you don't use the front so much. He's using more the rear to move the car, a little bit like a rally.
Through the middle sector, and he's 2 tenths up on Mitch Evans. Now down into turn 9. Lost a lot of time in the middle sector last lap, but this time he's got it hooked up beautifully out of 9.
But that's exactly where Nico Müller was super quick earlier on, was in that last corner and this one now.
6 minutes to go still, so a long way remaining in the session, but Robin Freintz and both apt cars look absolutely hooked up. Here comes the man from Maastricht. It's the front at the moment, a 1 minute 18.713. Now we're with Cassidy, who has backed off on this lap. So he's about to start a lap, Nick Cassidy. So we'll watch him, see what he can do. Gets on the power now and heads down towards turn 1.
Quite a different line from Robin Freintz there, who was very close to the curb right at the end, whereas Cassidy didn't really trouble it, kept himself probably 1.5 meters out.
So Cassidy into turn 1. Here's Sete Camera coming into turn 7. He's only 2 tenths down after the first sector. Freintz is improving still in sector 1. Sete Camera's lost a big chunk in the middle sector, 6 tenths of a second. Oh, and he's slithering all over the place coming into turn 9. You can hear the spikes of wheel spin. Bird's been through the pits, so that's an interesting one for Bird.
Possible tyre pressures. He's down in 8th place at the moment, second off the pace, so it's possible tyre pressure adjustment.
Let's go down and get an update from our experienced meteorologist, Karun Chandok.
And of many skills, thanks, Jack. Well, you know, we were talking about how it's going to be a drying track a lot. Well, it started drizzling now, so they've got to get on and get a time on the board because the rain is coming.
Wow. Okay, so a bit more drizzle. There's a look at the radar then. And the track is sort of in the middle. So, yeah, it's just a sort of little shower passing through by the looks of things.
Yeah, but still, I think from the drivers, with 4 minutes to go, doesn't matter. They'll just want to make sure they get that final lap. I don't think there's going to be a downpour in 4 minutes that will significantly slow the circuit up. Circuit is getting quicker. Look, they're into the 18.6s now for Robin Freintz. And that's a bit quicker than it was in Group A.
Evans was very quick in sector 1. Lost a bit of time to Freintz in sector 2, but he's still 700ths up here on Freintz. But championship-wise, Evans, Cassidy, Buemi, Bird really are the sort of 4 that would want to be advancing through. Evans goes quicker than Freintz by a 10th of a second. Here comes Buemi in the Envision. 2.8 seconds off the pace, so He'll now start a push lap. 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, also Van Dorn's there a second off the base. Jean-Eric Verne made it through right at the end of the session in Group A. So Stoffel Van Dorn in 7th place right now. I'm sure he's looking to improve. He did to 5th, but not quite into the duels.
Here is Buemi. Sam Bird is one to keep an eye out on as well, because he's just started a lap, Bird, having been through the pits. Buemi is 400ths down in the first sector. Bird is just up ahead of him on track, actually, and is a 10th and a half down in sector 1. We've got the running clock on Bird as well in the bottom right. Oh, sorry, Bird's just behind Buemi on track. Oh, little snap as he comes into turn 7. Here's Bird's radio. Freitz does a quick sector 1. Evans does a quick middle sector. Lap times are falling everywhere. And it is going to be, as we said at the very... Who's into the pits? Evans. So Evans pits with 2.5 minutes to go for presumably a quick tyre pressure change.
Yeah, with it being a bit drier, they maybe started a little bit too high, and some of them need to bleed it back down. Rennie Rast tried it in the previous session. Didn't quite work out for him.
And also, you got such... Well, Evans is coming straight back out, though. That wasn't quick enough to do a tyre pressure change.
It might have been just the rears. And there you see him on the left-hand side, and they've done it with both the Jaguar cars.
Yeah, so Bird's gone up to 4th place. Here comes Stoffel Van Dorn. He is starting a lap now, Van Dorn, as he comes down in towards turn 1. 1 minute 55 to go, so he'll get 2 more laps. Here's a look at what Sam Bird's been up to meanwhile. Oh, sorry, this was Evans. Yeah, so Evans just drove through the pit lane. So maybe to get some better track position or something like that. Interesting. Anyway, 90 seconds remaining. Evans will get 1 more lap out of this. Here comes Van Dorn. He's 6/10 down in sector 1, Stoffel Van Dorn. So this lap's no good. This lap's no good for Van Dorn.
No, he should get another lap in them. So he'll get 1 more hit at it. As right behind him is Robin Freins.
Tictum's done the fastest middle sector of anyone, so keep an eye out for him on the tower on the left-hand side. Hughes goes up to 7th fastest. Again, still a huge field spread compared to a regular qualifying session. Less than a minute to go. Mortara and Gunter in the Maserati MSGs are right down at the bottom. Tictum only goes 7th. Right, everybody coming through now is about to start their final lap. Final lap beginning for Stoffel Van Dorn. He found some time in the middle sector, but doesn't improve overall. As he comes in towards turn 1. Here's Sam Bird. He is the big driver at the moment who is missing out on the duels as it stands in 5th position. Big lapping coming here from Bird, and his first sector's half a second away. Bird's too far away. Bird's not going to make it through to the qualifying duels, the man who finished 2nd yesterday.
He locked up his left front coming into turn 6 as well, as we've switched now to Cassidy.
Cassidy comes towards the line, and he starts his final lap now. So Cassidy just made it over the line in time. His teammate Buemi is on a quick lap. Sebastian Buemi coming up towards the final couple of corners. Here comes Bird. He's 2.2 seconds down. It's done for Bird, and he's off. Bird won't be through. Bird will be out of qualifying at the group stages.
Yeah, he's coming into the pits now. He's just given up on this lap now. He knows it's done. No, he's not coming in.
Buemi goes fastest. Is there anyone out there that can spoil the party? I think Cassidy's going to be the one, but he's going to make it through because he's already in 4th place and no one is really improving out there. Here's Bird's radio.
I think the throttle might be stuck.
Well, that's not ideal. Van Dorn goes 5th, demotes Bird a row on the grid. And that is going to be the end of the drivers that will make it through. Buemi, Freitz, Evans and Cassidy. Here comes the Maseratis. Mortara goes up to 9th quickest. Max Gunter through the final corner. And he goes up to, well, no, remains 11th. Cassidy could improve here. Maybe up into 2nd or 3rd. The Kiwi, no, remains 4th. So the 2 Envisions go through. Robin Freitz goes through in the Apt. And Mitch Evans goes through in the Jaguar TCS car. Frustration for Bird. And very, very interesting at Jaguar. Evans through, but why was there no pace there for Bird? He obviously came in, they were obviously doing something different because Bird came into the pits and changed something, presumably pressures. And is where he stopped on track here?
No, that's in the pit lane.
Oh, is it? Okay,
it's
fine.
at the end of the pit lane, and the FIA garage is just to the left. Here we've got a replay of Sam Bird coming in. This is at the end of the lap where he said that it was like the throttle had been sticking open.
Yeah.
So there was no retardation. It could be one of two things: the throttle literally sticking open, or it's not recuperating energy as expected, so it isn't effectively slowing the car down. Whichever way, doesn't matter for Sam. He's 6th. Having such a strong run in qualifying yesterday in the front row of the grid, and also a strong race, ultimately not to win but to finish 2nd. And that's a little bit frustrating there. However, there's one car through into the duels for Jaguar.
Yep. And it is the race winner from yesterday, Mitch Evans. So Buemi fastest, Freinz 2nd, Evans 3rd, Cassidy 4th. And we got to reflect on apps here. We'll get into them more a little bit later on. There's no doubt about that. Muller will be facing Verline in the duels, but we touched on it a little earlier on in free practice, and we might not quite have time to get into it. But how are they so are they just really good technically, the app team, and they've just got the Mahindra powertrain's just no good, and the software, and they're not all on top of that. But when it comes to actually just suspension and stuff, they're mega. Is it like that?
Well, the suspension basically is the same as the Mahindra cars.
Yeah.
Because it is a Mahindra. At the end of the day, they've got Felix
But they know
Fechner.
how to set that up. And
you've got two things. You've got two drivers, I think, that are very good in these conditions, with Nico Müller and Robin Freinz. Robin Freinz especially. And also you've got two engineers that have been in the formula for quite a long time with very good experience, Marcus Michelberger and also Felix Fechner. And both of them I know extremely well, and they understand when it's wet what you should do. And that's just a great combination, and you can see it up there. And it's also building confidence for the whole team. They're smiling for the first time, I think, this year. And that confidence just builds on itself as well, Jack.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Sam Bird saying there that the problem started with a lap and a half to go. So that's frustration for Sam Bird. Right, Sebastian Buemi, quickest in qualifying Group B. He and his Envision teammate Nick Cassidy advanced through to the duels. Robin Freinz is in there as well. Mitch Evans too in the other Jaguar TCS car. Van Dorn 5th row of the grid, 6th row of the grid though for Sam Bird. Duels getting underway in a moment. As the Buemi car gets wheeled back into the garage. Let's, both Envisions are through, aren't they, Nicky Shields?
Well, Sylvain and Felipe, congratulations. Continuing on from yesterday's form, both drivers into the duels. Is the key today all about setup of the car, given the different conditions?
Yes, indeed. It was a very, very different challenge today. In the wet, in qualifying, car efficiency has less to do with it. It's really about the setup, the tire pressures, and the driver confidence. You know, they've all driven really well today, not to put a car in the wall. It's very, very slippery here on this concrete surface in the wet. So yeah, we've done well. Good setup, good collaboration with the Jaguar team again, and then yeah, we have the cars up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's obviously the fact that we've seen Mitch Evans go through, predictable, but the fact that we've seen the Ab Cooper go through, not quite what we were expecting.
Yeah, I think, I was expecting them to be up there, just because, like, you know, I know what Robin can do on the wet, especially he's very good on the wet. And again, powertrain efficiency is far less important on the wet. You know, you cannot put the power down anyway. So it's really about the driver, the confidence, the overall setup. And, you know, it's a different set of challenge, but it's interesting, right?
Now, we did hear some interesting radio comms from Nick Cassidy earlier, having a bit of a dig at Sebastian Buemi. What's going on there?
I think a bit of driver frustration. We've seen that before, and I think in a way when you have the car to win races and win championships, obviously the stakes are higher, and there's a bit of a frustration sometimes. We've had that before. It's our job to calm things down and then make sure they are focused on the job. But I would much rather that and a quick car than the other way around, so we'll manage it.
Has this been a long-standing disagreement or just in yesterday's race?
No, not at all. The boys get on famously. It's really all good, but you know, when the prize is so near and you can see something really exciting, emotions are a bit higher. It's normal. You see that in any motorsport. But you know, it's our job to make sure that it doesn't harm our performance at the end of the day. So.
Absolutely. Well, it's not the first time we've heard enthusiastic radio messages. Sylvain Philippe, good luck for the duels.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Not sure what that smell is, but anyway. Yeah, interesting conversation there between Nicky and Sylvain. A little bit of beef, driver frustration. Surely that was a full-on argument, debate that Nick Cassidy was having.
Yeah, I'm not sure they get on that famously based on that bit of chat there. But listen, the reality is they're performing. You know, they're two drivers who are in the duels. They've done a great job in qualifying so far in very difficult conditions. So yeah, Sylvain should be happy. And you know what? If there's a bit of needle between them, so what? It's secondly.
Well, like he said, the car's doing well. So do you know what? We'll deal with it. We'll get it sorted. If the car was miserable, then it'd be a different issue.
Time for the qualifying duels. Both apps through. Nico Müller will be against Pascal Wehrlein, the championship leader, in quarterfinal number 1. The predictor vote, there's 33% of you are very brave.
I would predict the other way, Jack, to be honest with you.
What, you're backing Nico Müller over the championship leader?
I'm backing the man that has got no points on the board over the championship leader, yes.
Okay, you're backing the man whose best qualifying performance this season is 13th.
Lucky for some.
Very true. Here is Nico Müller. Have you worked with Müller a lot?
Yeah, he was our reserve driver, support driver with Audi, so he did all of our rookie tests and quite a bit of testing as well through the Gen 2 era. And was always quick, was always very good at his feedback, very professional. And he was a big part of our team, actually.
He and Robin get on very well in that team. It's not quite the Buemi Cassidy vibe, is it? They've been on holiday together a few times, I think, as well.
Yeah, well, Robin's horizontal in terms of you know, his emotions in that respect. He's completely relaxed every minute of the day. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why, you know, he's very relaxed. He gets on with the car moving around and just his way of doing things.
But what's Müller like as a character? Because I feel like we haven't got to know him much in Formula E because of the cars he's been in.
Yeah, that's very true. He's not necessarily been in a competitive car, so you maybe don't see him. He's quite a clear, precise person. Smiles a lot, which is good in a team. You need someone to smile in the team. It lifts the whole team. You know, we had a little sign in our garage saying the power of a smile, and it's amazing how people forget it. And
that's
he's
quite
that
Ted
type
Lasso
of person.
of you.
Sorry?
That's quite Ted Lasso of you, that, the power of this.
Well, I actually stole it from Ted Lasso, to be honest with you. But anyway, let's get back to it, because then we'll see exactly whether the power of the smile is going to stay on the app team at the end of this session, as now Nico Müller starts his flying lap.
Beautiful segment. Down into turn 1 comes Müller. The first time in the duels for him. Pascal Wehrlein out of the final corner now. He's not won a duel this season, to be fair, Pascal Wehrlein. He's lost all 3 of his quarterfinals that he's been in, and we have delayed Müller's lap in order to try and tie them up, and that's quite deep for Wehrlein into turn 1.
Very, very different line there between the two of them. And Pascal's trying to square off this corner, so he squared off the previous one, but it's not worked out for him.
Müller goes 2 tenths ahead of Pascal Wehrlein after the first corner. We'll get another look here as they come down the back straight towards turn 6. And Wehrlein's got back ahead.
He got better traction out of turn 5, and now it's down into turn 6. And this is where Müller was very good this morning. This is where Freins was very good out of these corners here. Quite a different line between the two of them.
It's fascinating to watch how big the swing is. Müller is ahead by over 1/10 of a second. Normally we're chopping 100th here, 100th there, but much bigger swings in these tricky conditions. Crucial braking zone now at turn 9.
This was the area where Nico Müller was very quick earlier on. You see, he was so much quicker to get to the steering wheel straight, to get onto the throttle.
That was so good from Müller. He's almost 3/10 of a second up, but he's at a moment coming into turn 10. Runs in a little bit deep. This is going to be a tight one, I think. Coming towards the line. Müller versus Wehrlein. Who's through to the semi-finals? It's Nico Müller by 3/10 of a second. Abt will be on the front 2 rows of the grid for the Berlin E-Prix, and that's what it means to Thomas Piermeyer.
Fantastic performance. Very, very pleased for them. Obviously, for championship leader Pascal Wehrlein, it's, as you said, though, he's not made it through in a lot of the duels so far, and we've seen that he's been a master of recovery as well. And so he's got but this is a great opportunity, not only for Nico Müller, but also later on for Robin Freins as well.
Absolutely. Right, next up, Jean-Eric Vergne versus Jake Dennis. Vergne has won both of the times they've faced each other, and it's a dead split on the predictor votes, 50-50. And this is going to be well, this is a tight one. This is a real tight one.
Interesting point is that Dennis is the only British driver, and we were talking about the British weather earlier on. Yeah. He's the only British driver actually in the duels.
Across the line. I mean, it's not dissimilar to Parisian weather as well. It's a lot of the time, to be fair. As Dennis comes into the first corner in the Avalanche Andretti, the man who is fifth in the championship standings. This is third v fifth in the championship, Vergne v Dennis. So a win here is big.
It's tippy-toe just onto the throttle, not using all of the circuit there as Dennis came through turn 3-4. Jean-Eric Vergne a bit wider into the first corner. I don't think he'll lose too much from that.
Dennis, meanwhile, is up at turn 7.
Ooh, wheel spin as Dennis starts to accelerate out.
Vergne is 400ths up on Dennis after the first corner. Another little slide for the man from Nuneaton, another bigger slide for him too. Vergne's advantage goes up to over 1/10 of a second.
Very nice cut back there though by Dennis.
Almost 2/10.
Again, wheel spin though, as soon as he went onto the throttle.
Final corner for Dennis. He's got some fans in the grandstand as he comes out and drives towards the line. The gap's 2/10 of a second at the moment. Dennis through, does a 1:19.7. It's a second slower than the lap times in the previous duel. What can Jean-Eric Vergne do? He's still got that 2/10 of a second advantage as he comes now.
Last corner.
To the last corner, it's now up to 3/10. That looked good for Vergne. I think it'll be Jean-Eric Vergne that will advance into the semis. Drives towards the line now. And he does by over 4/10 of a second. 3-0 now between Vergne and Dennis.
But 8/10 of a second slower than Nico Müller just a few minutes before.
Yeah.
But it seemed to me, for me, Dennis lost everything, not just in the corner speed, but it was the initial acceleration afterwards. He lit up the rear wheels at 2 or 3 different points, had to lift off and then go again.
So Jean-Eric Vergne through to the semi-finals where he will face Nico Müller. Lovely little calm slide from Jean-Eric Vergne. And Vergne was quicker than Dennis, so Vergne will start ahead of Dennis on the grid. Quarterfinal 3, it's Mitch Evans versus Robin Freins. Evans is your favourite for this one. Robin Freins into the duels for the first time this season.
I'm going with Freins. I'm going the opposite direction again.
Here comes Evans. He will be first across the line on the run down towards turn 1. Race winner yesterday. Catapulted himself up to 4th in the standings. He's won both races at a venue before in Rome last season. And here comes Robin Freins. He's won 2 Formula E races in Paris and in New York City. He's only had 1 pole position, which came at the start of last season in Diriyah. And the drivers are being told on the radio, it's raining a little more now. Oh, Evans 3/10 quicker through the first corner.
That's a big, big advantage there.
Down into turn 9 for, turn 6 for Evans. Whoa, Freins has got those 3/10 back.
It could have been just the way that he was lining up the first corner to the second, the third. That's 600ths of a second here is now coming down to the hairpin for Evans. Gets it in. Gently on the throttle. Just teasing the throttle on.
300ths between them now. This is getting very, very tight. Evans into the final corner. Gets on the power. Drives towards the line. What's the benchmark time going to be for the Kiwi? An 18.492. Good lap, but Freins is ahead now by 1/10 of a second. Here we are with Freins into the final corner. Will it be both Abt Cupras into the semi-finals and on the front 2 rows of the grid? Or will it be the race winner from yesterday? It's Freins! by 0.07 of a second.
Exactly the same 1/10 of a second for Robin Freins to his teammate Nico Müller as well. So the second group there of Dennis and Verne was extremely slow. Now we'll look to the final one.
Robin Freins is through to the semi-finals. And he was 0.3 down after the first corner. Found all the time back, presumably in turn 4, because their first sectors were absolutely equal. And this is Birds watching. And that's his reaction to Evans getting knocked out. He'll be torn about that because him and Robin Freins are good buddies. Quarterfinal 4. Here we go. Cassidy versus Buemi, the two Envision teammates who had a little bit of the beef this morning and yesterday. Who's going to come out on top today?
They're too close, these two. They're far, far too close for me to have a feeling on it, because both of them, if they just put the lap together and don't make a mistake, they'll do identical lap times. It's the question for me is who takes that little bit extra risk on the braking and going into a corner without actually making a mistake.
Sylvain Philippi watching. Whatever happens, he's got a car in the semi-finals, but which one will it be? There's only 200ths between them at the moment. This is, the way you can tell them apart, by the way, is Cassidy has the yellow flash on the top of the roll hoop. So this is Cassidy we're watching at the moment, because they're both in the same car with Red Bull-sponsored helmets. So it's a real joy, but it's that yellow flash on the top. Cassidy into the hairpin, wide, and didn't really get it back in, and Buemi's gained 0.3 on him. Buemi, these aren't synced up, but they're just coming into the hairpin now, and Cassidy is coming out of the final corner. Buemi goes in deep, but then comes back and clips the apex nicely. Will this be a big jump in Buemi's favour across the line? Cassidy does an 18.7.
It's not a brilliant lap time. Gives it to Buemi if Buemi can get a nice acceleration out the last corner.
Buemi drives towards the line. There's a little under 0.2 between them at the moment. Oh, it's Cassidy! Cassidy gets through by 0.05. Did not see that one coming.
No, I think Buemi didn't quite get back to the apex coming out of the final corner, and he was definitely better in turn 9, but in turn 10 wasn't quite hooked up. We did say about identical lap times, they're 500 apart.
Yeah, exactly. Here's Cassidy's radio.
You're through, you're through.
How?
Mistake in the last, I don't know.
Cassidy asking, how am I through? Because he presumably didn't think he did a good lap.
Well, I don't think he necessarily did, because if we look at it, Robin Freins did an 18.4, they did 18.75 and 18.8 between them, so the 3/4 off, which is, they were only half a tenth off in the group stages.
So Evans, yesterday's race winner, will be 5th on the grid. 6th, I didn't write Verline's lap time down quickly enough, so it'll be Verline and Buemi then behind in 6th and 7th. 8th will be Jake Dennis on the grid. There's John on the right-hand side, one of the mechanics at the Envision team. And there's a look in the back of the garage as we get ready then for the semi-finals in a few moments' time. This is where we're at in the semi-finals. Verline did an 8.05, so it is actually Pascal Verline who will be 6th on the grid. Buemi will be 7th on the grid, and Jake Dennis will be 8th. So the two semi-finals will be getting underway shortly. Jean-Eric Verne versus Nico Müller, and Nick Cassidy versus Robin Freins. Two great semi-final lineups. So, semi-finals will be getting underway shortly. Can we have an apt front row lockout? What do you reckon? Scan Formula E Predictor and get involved. We'll be there in less than 6 minutes. For now, it's Vernon time.
Well, Karun, these conditions are really throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, aren't they? We've got a great performance from Apt and also a great performance from Nick Cassidy at the Envision team. It seems like we're slowly coping with these conditions because it's getting more wet as the morning progresses.
Well, I think the thing is the conditions are changing. You're talking about coping with it, but they've got to be adaptable and flexible. You know, there was a phase where the sun was starting to peek through, but it's definitely raining again now. And therefore, the drivers going out for their next laps, they're going to go out in conditions completely different. And on this occasion, they've only got one opportunity to make the lap count. And, you know, we saw that with the two Envision drivers, neither of them really got the whole lap.
Nick Cassidy was surprised.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think either of them maximized the potential of their lap because it's just difficult to get the tires and the brakes and the car in the right window and also know how much to push on just one lap.
All right, let me bring in Saunders. Saunders, have you got your microphone with you? Here he is. Saunders got some great information for us. Go away with your facts and stats.
Well,
Go on, Saunders.
Just talking to the team before that, and 13th is their best ever qualifying performance. And now, look at them. They're absolutely flying today. And also, both winners in the wet in DTM before. Robin Freins, a winner in Formula E in the first ever wet race in Paris, which was an incredible performance. You know, the energy is going to come into it there if it's dry. But it's exciting.
It really is. I remember that race in Paris, and it was carnage. Like, entertaining, but it was absolute carnage. Cars were all over the place, just going in a straight line. And I think coming down the finishing straight, we've seen a lot of wobbles from the drivers.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it is properly chucking you down now. And I think, you know, that, as you say, even in a straight line, it's not really a straight line here, is it? As a start finish, it's a curved straight.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing them struggling for traction, to make your point. I think we're in for a fascinating next few hours because it's one thing in qualifying, but actually in the race when you've got all of the field trying to manage the energy in a dry race, that's not a problem in this. They're going to be flat out in these conditions, and that's going to create a fascinating battle.
Well, I'm just hearing that Nick Cassidy's had his lap cancelled for some reason.
Oh.
We'll investigate that. Jack and Alan will find out why that's the case. Well, that's disappointing. Sylvain Philippe is going to be very upset, the fact that that lap from Nick Cassidy is cancelled, and maybe that's the reason why he was surprised. Maybe he knows that he did something wrong or something happened. Who knows?
Hopefully Jack knows and he can tell the world.
Yeah, well, let's find out. Let's find out. I think someone's just trying to tell me something in my ear about Nick Cassidy as to why the lap has been cancelled. Have we got any more information from them upstairs? No, none whatsoever. All right. OK, right, well, there you go. So Nick Cassidy's lap has been cancelled. That's really disappointing. Let's go back to Jack and Alan.
So the rain's starting to come down more and more in Berlin, but we have just learned that Nick Cassidy's lap times have been deleted due to improper use of 350 kilowatt mode. So an improper use of 350 kilowatt mode. Now exactly what that is remains to be seen. If I were to hazard a guess, like an absolute guess, you have to turn your 350. In fact, I've just been told this is exactly what it is.
Turn it to 350 at a certain point on the lap.
And it has to be the final sector, I think.
It's in the final sector, and it's possible, because I've had this happen before to us, that it's been turned earlier, which in these conditions you could think about being an advantage by heating up your tyres with the extra power. In reality, I don't think it would have a performance effect. However, it clearly is a regulation, and it's a clear defined point on the track, which is in between turns 7 and 8, if my memory is correct around here.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that's tripped them up.
Yeah, the timing sector is it's on the run down towards turn 9 for the start of the final sector. So it looks as though Buemi will be the driver that advances through into the duels. Cassidy's waiting in there because no doubt the team will be protesting and arguing and maybe even sprinting down the back of the paddock to the FIA office, Alan.
It's quite difficult for them because clearly it's one of their drivers against one other of their drivers.
Yeah.
However, they have to push it if there is it was something that maybe they feel isn't correct.
So if Cassidy's lap times do get deleted, 5th on the grid will still be Evans, 6th will be Verline, 7th would be Dennis, 8th would be Cassidy. That's the order it would be. So with the lap times deleted for Cassidy, it means that this is the way it's going to be. Jean-Eric Verne versus Nico Müller, and then Sebastian Buemi versus Robin Freins. A rematch of the pit lane fallout of Montreal 2017. So if any of you remember that dirty, dirty man scenario, if not, find it on YouTube. It's fairly iconic. Right, so let's have a look with Cassidy here. We're in the final sector.
Now this is
so
actually...
we're nearly in the final sector, and watch him...
We're nowhere in the final sector.
Sorry,
he's done it on the way down to turn 6.
Yeah, he's done push 350 there. You saw push 350 come up, so he's done it way too early. That's a slam dunk. Jinx.
Yeah. No, it's meant to be about another 500 meters later.
Yeah.
If the rule is still the same as it used to be.
The semi-final number 1, Jean-Eric Verne versus Nico Müller. The exact wording of the regulation is the switch to maximum power, 350 kilowatts, must be activated during the last sector.
Yeah, well, then I don't see many questions with that particular one.
Right, first semi-final underway, Verne versus Müller. Jean-Eric Verne has had a pole position so far this season in Sao Paulo, 3rd on the grid yesterday. So he's made it into the semis for the last 3 races in a row, Jean-Eric Verne, the best qualifying form of anyone. Nico Müller, though, the signs for him are the last 3 Berlin E-Prix have had a Swissman on pole. Sebastian Buemi yesterday, Edo Mortara for both races last year. Although Edo Mortara is also slightly French and mostly Italian. But there is Cassidy.
Leon Price, the team manager, to the left-hand side. And, yeah. It's clearly an error somewhere, either being told to do it, but ultimately, you know, it's not the first race in Formula E, so they all know when they go to 350.
Leon Price trying to calm Cass down.
Yeah, yeah, that's all you can do at this stage. You know, he's not going out in the semi, so.
I had nothing to lose. 1 and 2 was no rot.
Wow, they're having a discussion there, but I mean, the replay we saw, it was sort of quite clear. Right, let's...
The only thing is if he maybe went back again at some point, and then I don't know.
But even then, you've still activated it.
It's still activated, I agree.
Yeah. Right, semi-final number 1. It's Verne versus this man, Nico Müller. Across the line, down towards the first corner. Wrestling, we're going synced onboards here, down into the first turn.
Oh, it's tippy toe stuff.
The rain is coming down more. You can see it dropping on the lens in a way that we weren't in the quarterfinals. Verne is 800ths up.
Müller got a bit of oversteer between the end of turn 1 into turn 2. But it looks like the front of the Abt Cupra car is much more precise. He can turn it more, but the rear is a little bit more unstable.
Verne is a 10th up. That's Nicolas Maudoui we're looking at in the top left. Oh, the gap comes down a little. Oh, it's so tough to read in the wet, because you're like, well, they're both miles away from the apex, but they mean to do it.
Yeah, but they're also, I think it's all going to be done in the last sector, especially in the last corner, as now Nico Müller's just grabbed a little bit of an advantage through turn 6.
Oh,
little wiggle again through turn 7, though.
Just a 10th of a second between them. They're both pretty hooked up through 9. Down towards the final corner. What's the gap going to be with 1 corner to go? It's 400ths. A place on the front row here is up for grabs. Müller sends it in. Such different lines through that final turn. Now it's just a drag race. Will it be Verne or Müller on the front row of the grid in Berlin? It's Müller!
My goodness.
It's Nico Müller for Abt! The front row of the grid!
They'll be hoping that every race from now to the end of the season is torrential rain.
Remarkable stuff. Frustration for DS Penske, but also doesn't really matter, does it? Because they'll still be there on the second row of the grid.
No, I think when it comes to the race and the end of the race, then they'll definitely be there. As Mitch Evans is having a little walk back down, got beaten in his quarter-final by Robin Freins. And there's Nick Cassidy still having a discussion about what happened.
That's Robert Sattler, his race engineer. So whether it's... Right, it's time for Buemi versus Freins in semi-final 2. Surely we're not having an Abt front row lockout. Surely we are not.
I don't know. I really don't know, but I would say that you couldn't bet against it with Robin Freins. But then again, Sebastian Buemi has been very, very strong all day in the conditions. Very neat and tidy.
Right, here he is, Robin. Down in towards turn 1. He's a 10th up already down the start-finish straight.
Car gets out of the last corner very, very well. He's got it. Whereas Nico Müller had a big snap oversteer there, and he's been a little bit neat and tidy. However, again, Buemi, like it was as well in the previous runs, he's good out of turn 5.
400ths between them. Now heading up towards turn 7. A little bit of a twitch, but Freins is still ahead by 600ths. Buemi really fighting the car on the run to 7. Buemi gets ahead. 400ths of a second ahead of Freins. Onto the brakes into turn 9. Freins on the right-hand side. Buemi gets ahead now by almost 0.2 of a second. Freins through the left-hand flick at turn 7.
Yeah, it looks like Sebastian Buemi's got a lot in the control here as he flicks it into the final corner.
Cassidy's not paying much attention to Buemi's lap. Here comes Buemi towards the line. Freins has closed the gap a little bit. Across the line, and Freins is ahead by 0.2. He's got a corner to go. He's absolutely sailed through turn 9, Robin Freins. He drives towards the line. Are we on for an apt front row lockout in Berlin against all odds? We are...
Take a breath, Jack, take a breath.
You're telling me to take a breath. Tell them to take a breath.
They don't need to take a breath. They've got plenty of breath, and they've also got 2 cars in the finals. Yeah, we can't believe it either. Superb.
Alberto Longo, the co-founder of Formula E, in the garage. And I think everybody is happy for the app team. Smiles and laughs around from Sylvain Filippi. He'll know a lot of those guys from when they were Audi customers, and a lot of the Audi app teams were there.
Well, actually, some of the engineers, our engineers, are now working directly with Apt.
Right.
And so, therefore, the faces, and, you know, the Apt team were in from the beginning in season 1.
Yeah.
And so, from that perspective, they've been around the paddock a long time.
So that is Apt's first ever front row lockout. Even you never locked out the front row, Alan.
No.
Nice.
We didn't actually have a front look. You're right. Yeah. We had 1-2s, and we had one of our best ever races here with a pole win, fastest lap, and led every single lap. However, never a 1-2. So that is a fantastic effort by them.
That hug between Markus Mickelberger and Thomas Beermeyer was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Rib-breaking phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Two bear huggers, I think it's fair to say. Freins going up onto the weighbridge before heading down to get ready for the final.
Well, Freins was 0.4 quicker than Nico Müller in the respective semis there.
Big weekend this for... Well, there's Joseph Rocker having a little chat.
This is a big weekend in a lot of ways for that team. Now, we're talking about it just for qualifying, and you know, and to some extent the guys at the back struggling, coming through, making it good. However, if they can get some big points out of it, it could lift them off the bottom of the team's table, and that means a heck of a lot at the end of the year.
Well, also they're partnered with Cupra. It's the team's Apt Cupra. Cupra are launching a car in Berlin this weekend, so there's an awful lot of guests for the team and guests of Cupra and guests of Apt. So it's a huge weekend. They're home. I know they're straight out of Kempton, but which is a long way away, but still remarkable. And frustration though at Envision. I think we saw Cassidy walking up, so we might hear from him in a bit. And his argument with Robert Sattler and discussion there. But third on the grid, by the way, will be Buemi. So Buemi will be third on the grid, Verne will be fourth on the grid, and it'll be Nico Müller or Robin Freins that will be on pole position. And, well, yeah, we need to dissect this all a little bit more, but in a few minutes' time, it will be the final and the battle for pole position between the two Apt Cupra drivers, Müller and Freins. So, remarkable stuff. We've got 5 minutes and 5 seconds to go. Let's head down to the pit lane and speak to our championship leader.
All right, well, Pascal Wehrlein, I know you're going to be disappointed because you haven't got through to the semis, but a huge improvement on yesterday where you were down in P15 to be starting from P6 today.
No, I'm absolutely not unhappy. So I think it's a good starting position, P6. We know slipstream here is important. Different conditions compared to yesterday, so quite tricky. But yeah, I enjoy driving in the wet. So yeah, yesterday we were starting P15. Today P6. We can make up 9 positions like yesterday. We should be fine.
Now, obviously, yesterday, you know, one of the keys to successes was having that efficient powertrain, which you guys clearly have. Less of an important issue here today.
Well, if it's wet, efficiency is not as important. There you rely more on grip and yeah, mechanical grip. But for sure it helps. But we also know that the Jaguars, especially, they are super strong in the race, and there are a couple of them again at the front.
Excellent. All right then. Well, thanks very much. Good luck, Pascal Wehrlein, hoping to compete against the Jaguar drivers ahead of him at the start of the grid.
They said it's up to me, to be honest. They told me no. They said it's my decision, and they said you were most likely going to do that, and Mitch was maybe going to do this.
Okay, they told me I could not choose. It was clear.
Right.
Well, anyway.
Against Robin, you were up. I thought you were good. To be honest.
I had a mega late turn 6 braking, mega late, very good. And then in 9 and 10, I took too much margin. You know, I felt I stopped too early.
On the brakes.
And then on traction, I was scared to break the traction. I took it also too easy.
Yeah.
Then I realized afterwards I should have.
I actually cost myself. I don't know if you used 350.
I used, but I didn't know.
Traction was hard. I think 300 was better.
I felt that when you are full throttle, it's a big game.
Yeah, it's a big game.
But the problem is, I didn't know how much I could do, so I took it too easy.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I knew I did very good until 6, so I said, okay, maybe don't do too much. But
yeah.
In fact, I was strong. I mean, it always goes all in, obviously.
Robin. Yeah, sure.
So fascinating chat there between Nick Cassidy and Sebastian Buemi. And I think they do have a solid enough relationship, but I think there is just some tense times at various points as we have seen over the course of the day and yesterday between the two Envision drivers. So we will be getting underway with the final, Abt versus Abt, Muller versus Freitz in a few moments' time. And remarkable performance from the Abt team. And I know, Alan, I know I've asked you this about 5 times already today, but I think I'm going to ask it again because a head-to-head duel with the team who were like, it doesn't make any, I can't work it out. I know it's all very well saying, oh, they're just really good, Abt Cupra, but you know what I mean?
There's a natural point that cars are strong at different circuits and different conditions. That's just the design philosophy idea. And clearly the Mahindra, which is the car that they're using, has struggled this year. And all of those races have been in the dry conditions with high grip. And now with lower grip conditions, it seems to be coming into its own, and also these drivers are able to extract the maximum out of it.
Let's head down to Saunders.
Right, down here with Thomas Beermeyer from Abt Cupra. I tell you what, it's cold in the pit lane, but the warmth I just got from the garage when that moment happened, what an incredible thing.
The emotions are so high now. This is unbelievable. Nobody expected that. And to have 2 cars in the finals, this is like a miracle. It's like a dream. And this is why everybody is happy. And everybody has some tears in their eyes.
There was noise from the garage, there was noise from the stands as well, a lot of Abt Cupra fans in the grandstand. At this point, it's win-win, isn't it, really? There's a front row lockout.
Yes, it's a win-win, and to be honest, I don't care who's winning now. The pressure is gone, and they should enjoy it now, and yeah, we will see. The better will take the pole now.
Teammate and teammate, let's see what happens.
Thank you.
Right, time for the final. Muller versus Freitz. Predictor vote says 55% Robin Freitz. And I think, well, I'm impartial, but I struggle to be impartial when it comes to Robin Freitz. Right, there is Fred Espinoss there, waiting for Thomas Beermeyer to get back from his interview with Saunders. And
it's Harry Umflat there that sits that down, who does all the sponsorship and marketing for the team. And yeah, they're all happy smiles.
Day one, isn't he?
He's been one of the best friends of Hans Jürgen since they were kids.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yep. Very and a partner in the whole apt organisation, because clearly they're not just motorsport, they also have got a very high performance tuning company.
I'm not sure if Hans Jürgen's here this week.
No, I'm not sure either. I haven't seen him around.
Anyway,
but coming back to it, when you say who is going to be on pole, I think Sebastian Buemi said it correctly. Robin is all in. You know what you're going to get. He's not going to take any sort of margin. He's not going to think in turn 9 and 10. He's going to pull it back. And so if he can do that without making a mistake, I think it'll be him. However, I just can't discount Nico. So I'm going to go for Nico Mullen.
Okay, right. Well, you know the big thing. Abt going to score their first points of the season.
Yep, 3 points for pole position.
And here we go. It's Nico Müller versus Robin Freins. There is Robin Freins. Nico Müller has never had a pole position in Formula E. His best ever qualifying performance, 6th on the grid in Diriyah a couple of years ago. What can Nico Müller do as he comes across the line? It's him versus his teammate for pole position.
Big snap of oversteer as Nico Müller crosses one of the white lines coming into the first corner. Gets it sorted out though.
Müller
gentle on the throttle. Again, that little bit onto the throttle and a little kick between turn 1 and 2.
Müller through the first sector. Robin Freins coming through now. Similar ages, Freins 31 from Maastricht. Müller 30 from Thun in Switzerland. And there's just 200s between them. They've always been pretty evenly matched whenever they've raced together. Teammates in DTM, I think, in the past. Freins has been a little bit slower this weekend. Oh, but now he's up by a quarter of a second. And that's the reaction from the crowd. And now it's up by 0.4 of a second, Robin Freins. He's flying. Müller down into the hairpin at turn 9. Closes the gap in a little bit. We've seen him strong through turn 9 all the time. Thomas Biermeier smiling whatever happens. Freins, the gap's almost half a second now. Müller through the final corner. Drives towards the line. And he's going to set the benchmark. 1 minute 19.380. But Freins is over half a second up. He's coming into the final corner now. Out of turn 10. Robin Freins looking for his second pole position in his Formula E career. And he's got it, and he's smashed it.
18.7, exactly the same lap time that he did in the semis, and also exactly the same lap time as what he was able to do earlier on. So really, really super performance by Robin Freins, but also by the whole team. Come on, we've got to congratulate both of them for getting to a position where we never thought they would.
Robin, we have the pole position. Wow.
And that is the message from Markus Mickelberger on the radio. Freins' race engineer, who, if you're a old-time Formula E fan, you'll remember him screaming with Lucas de Grassi when they would take victories. And that was a very, very calm reaction. Robin Freins' second pole position. And this is his race weekend. The Sao Paulo was his first race weekend back after breaking his hand, missing 4 races. And now he is here on pole. And the thing is with Robin, when he takes his helmet off, I've no idea what reaction I'm going to get. You know what I mean? He's going to be like, he'll be like, yeah, did quite a good lap, but he might even be smiling. So here's a bit of bleeped team radio from Robin Freins.
Yes, man. Feel good. Thanks, guys.
You know, just like, Robin, you've got the slowest car on the grid and you just taken pole. Thanks, guys. That feels good. Oh, Robin. Oh, Robin. Right, Alan. Firstly, I don't know if I should tell this story. Before we came on air, you said, who do you reckon for pole? I said Freins, and you said Freins. We both said Freins, so we're geniuses. Secondly, it's really wet. That's not drying up.
Well, it depends if there's another rain shower. You're right, it's not drying up. I think the wetter it is, then the better it is for the apt Cupra cars.
So
and
that's my
those
question.
Drivers.
Can
so
they
if
win?
It's a very wet race. I think they can win. If it dries up and it becomes a little bit more like it was in free practice this morning with no spray and things like that, then I would suggest it probably leans a little bit towards maybe Sebastian Buemi, for example, and also the Jaguars. But right now, if there's another big heavy rain shower, then I don't think we can bet against them being on the podium.
Thank you, man.
It's Fred Espinos.
Not bad, eh?
Not bad, eh? Apologies for any of the language that you may have heard there, but Franz has driven with the app team actually in DTM, so although he's new to the team this year, he's not really new to the team at all.
No, and also when we were testing with our program, when he was with Envision, the customer team, then he was also involved in the testing. So in reality, it's a home from home. Just maybe a just different change of overalls. Mitch Evans, winner yesterday.
Fifth on the grid.
I don't think he's out of the game at all.
Fifth on the grid with 2 apps ahead of him, because even if the apps do well and score points, he's not in the championship fight with the apps.
I think the thing there is getting big points against Pascal Wehrlein. That's what they want to do. They want to maximise the points relative to Pascal Wehrlein to close that gap.
That is Markus Michelberger there. Getting that pat on the head from Thomas Beermeyer.
Very much a home race for Marcus because his brother lives in Berlin. They've got a hotel chain there.
There's Daniel Abt as well there on the right-hand side. The last pole position for the Abt team. Who took it? Daniel Abt here in Berlin. That was the last one. Right, let's go down to the pit lane and join Nicky Shields.
Robin Freins, your second career pole position, a home race for AB Cupra. What a place to do it. Congratulations.
Wow, thank you. I didn't expect this after yesterday. We had a difficult day, and to come back like this with 2 cars in the front row, I can just say thank you to the big team. I mean, they did a good job. The weather helped, obviously, with the wet, and I did a good lap, so very happy.
Clearly, it's been a tough season, missing 4 races with your broken hand. This must mean more than ever.
Yeah, it's good to come back like this. Sao Paulo was a bit of a struggle, honestly, but now I feel again what I missed, so it's good.
And this time we've got an amazing home crowd supporting.
Yeah, we have a lot of Cupra guys here. I think around 1,500 people here to support us. So, I mean, we didn't score points in the races, so we do it in qualifying now, and hopefully we score some more in the race.
Are you hoping for rain later?
Yes, more rain the better.
Brilliant. All right, we'll do your rain dance. Now I'd like to welcome Alexander Voigt to give you this rather spectacularly designed pole position Julius Baer trophy. Alexander is the industrial design engineer who actually designed this trophy. A very nice one for the trophy cabinet. Oh, and a very special moment there with his teammate Nico Müller.
So there you can see the relationship between the pair of them. And Robin Freins then taking pole position. Second pole of his career. That was his reaction as he came across the line. As I say, he and Nico Müller, good friends, teammates before, holidays together. I think they go to the Swiss lakes or something. I remember getting a text from Robin once of Nico Müller sitting in a swan, an inflatable swan on a lake somewhere. I guess it was Switzerland, but I never replied saying where was this swan picture taken. Or swan, as Robin would say.
To be honest, there's no comment to say to that particular one, but whichever way, and you know, they were walking on water today, both of them.
And I think this is one of those, it's rare, isn't it, where you get a result that is just popular up and down the grid, you know what I mean? I realise I've not got much chill when it comes to the slowest team on the grid locking out the front row, but that's what sport is. That's what, you know what, that's what Formula E is. And that's the stuff that you get in the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. What craziness will we get in 3 hours' time when we get underway with round 8 of the season? That is going to be the big question, but it'll be a front row lockout for the Abt team. Buemi third, Vern fourth, Evans fifth, Verline sixth, Dennis seventh. So all of the championship frontrunners are there in the mix as well, which is going to be very interesting. We are anticipating for it to dry up as the day improves and the weather to improve. There is Nick Cassidy, who will be 8th on the grid. It was interesting, that chat, because obviously you turn it up to full power to 350 kilowatts, but that discussion with Cassidy and Buemi seemed to be along the lines of, well, actually in the wet, maybe you don't want 350 kilowatts because there's so much power, but we'll discuss that in a little bit, because we're going to hear now from the second place man, Nico Müller, front row of the grid, his best ever qualifying performance in Formula E. Nicky?
Well, Nico Müller, a front row lockout for Ab Cupra. What a result.
Yeah, actually pretty incredible. After the season we've had so far, was very tough for everybody involved, but we stick together and had awesome team spirit going still, even in these tough times. And to kind of, you know, repay the whole team for their huge efforts at their home race with a good qualifying. I mean, the big job still lies ahead of us, but still it's been a very, very positive session for us, and it relieved a lot of pressure within everybody involved, and just happy to contribute to that. Super happy for Robin as well, and yeah, let's go racing now.
Exactly. So obviously you're looking for your first points of the season. What is going to be realistic today?
No idea, depends a bit on the weather. To be realistic, if it's fully dry, I think it will be tough. We know with the package we have, you know, there's competition out there that is just a bit stronger, especially when it comes to efficiency and, you know, going through those races as quickly as possible. And we'll see if, you know, somebody is nice to us today and keeps it raining a little bit until after 3:30, 3:40 p.m. Then maybe we get away with a good race today, and if not, we try to do our best, and maybe we can even salvage something.
Well, enjoy the moment. Thanks very much, Nico Müller.
Yesterday we saw a race where, because I think that's the other thing to point out, that if energy is less crucial in the race, if it's damp, by default, that also kind of means that the slipstreaming vibe we saw will be less crucial. And there's a look at Thomas Beermeyer. I've seen him happy quite a lot, Thomas Beermeyer, but never quite today, I don't think. There are the fans. So, front row lockout for Ab Cupra. Let's get down to Burnham.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Well, absolute scenes here at the Ab Cupra garage. Elation. Unexpected elation for this team? Oliver?
Definitely unexpected. Well, after FP3 this morning, I think they had an understanding that, you know, a duel's appearance would be possible. Maybe not a front row lockout. It's fantastic to see the underdogs on the grid really have a fantastic result today. Man, if it's like this, right, which we expect it to be, it's too cold for it to dry up at this point. The track's going to be damp. They have a real shot today.
They got a real chance, right?
Yeah.
We heard earlier on Alan and Jack trying to dissect the intricacies of why the car isn't so good in the dry, but absolutely awesome in the wet. Is that due to the setup? Well, obviously it is, but what part of the setup?
I think that's the massive question within the team right now. Why are they
question?
Why are they so competitive now in the wet, right? And why aren't they in the dry? So there's not enough time between, you know, qualifying and the race today to figure that out. There's a lot to dig into, but I think this is, for one, a huge morale boost within the team, and two, I think they're going to learn from this, and well, hopefully learn from this and understand, you know, what the difference is.
We also heard earlier on from Pascal Verline, our championship leader. He was saying that, you know, where they are on the grid now, they've got a real chance. Yesterday, they managed to make up an awful lot of places. So he must be feeling really positive with his qualifying session. Even though, you know, he didn't get into the semi-finals, he must be feeling really happy that his car can compete.
Yes, and Pascal is one of the best in race conditions. You know, he's always thereabouts, right? He's not making any silly mistakes, and he's very calculated. You know, he is a DTM champion. He's won was it 2 races so far this year, and continues to lead the championship. I think he has a champion's mentality, and today in these conditions, that's going to be what it takes. The race today is going to be insane, I think.
All right, let's go over to Karun, who's with Robin Freins.
Robin, congratulations. You guys have done an amazing job today. Let's get into your pole lap here with your helmet cam. Look at the corrections on the wheel braking for the first corner.
It's quite alive, yeah, definitely. I thought I braked a bit early because the corner is quite blind on Apex, but it looked quite okay actually now if I look at it back.
So talk to me about trying to put the power down, because lots of drivers were saying they even thought it might have been quicker in the 300 power mode just because of the lack of traction.
Yeah, because it's typically the tires. The tires are basically designed for dry conditions, really. So if you go over that slip of the tire, you lose completely the grip of the tire. So it's very difficult to keep on top of the tire grip level all the time, and especially traction is difficult.
Yeah, I mean, here, you know, you're coming out of that right-hander 5. It must have been really tricky to get a good exit up to 6.
Yeah, there was like a small, I wouldn't say dry patch, but drier patch in the middle. And I definitely used that after turn 5. I turned right to create that like more grip I had to create more traction out of the corner.
Now, I was saying, I mean, again, a big snap there on the way in. But when you guys went out for the final, the rain had started coming down.
Yeah.
So the conditions were changing throughout that entire session, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely changing. Especially turn 6 was more wet, and it was a bit of standing water, turn 6 on the braking, so that was a bit difficult. Also on the finish line straight, it was some aquaplaning.
Right.
But it was searching all the time, definitely.
Now, talk to me about these quick corners here. What was the grip like? Whoa, the big slide there.
Snappy, yeah, definitely snappy. You go in with a bit of understeer, and then suddenly the rear decides to go away, so it's very difficult.
And at this point, are the team telling you you're up on the lap? Are they talking to you at all?
No, they don't talk to me at all. I rather don't that someone speak to me in a hot lap. But you're watching the screens around the track to see where you are. Yeah, definitely out of turn 5. You see like if you are ahead or in front. Here I'm watching to the left.
There's a big screen up there.
Big screen there. You see the helmet going to the left just to see where I am.
Now, I want to ask you about this, because we've seen so many drivers sliding just to get up to the line. What was it like there?
Yeah, it's a bit of aquaplaning, as you see. It was always a bit snappy, so, I mean, it's so easy to lose 2-3 tenths there on the main straight.
Now, listen, are you the whole team going to be doing the rain dance to make sure the race is wet for you?
100%. I'm in it.
Okay, listen, all the very best, mate. It's been a great qualifying.
Thank you.
What a fantastic insight, knowing that Robin watches the TV as he's going round to find out where he is in the duels. Congratulations, Thomas, absolutely brilliant. The burning question is, why are you good in the wet and not so good in the dry?
I don't know, to be honest. No, Mahindra is stayed in England. So if we're testing in England, the weather is most likely like here. Absolutely. So we had a lot of wet tests. No, but seriously, we had some tests in the wet conditions.
Yeah.
And if the car is not strong enough in the
Nico,
dry,
you can stand next to
it
the boss.
always gives you a chance.
Well
you have nothing to lose in the wet conditions, and we tried something and it worked out, and they did a good job. So it's not only the car, it's not only the team. It's in the wet conditions is a lot of them, and they did a good job.
Yeah, Nico, it looked like a really difficult, tough drive out there in these conditions, and we've talked about that a lot. But from the elation within the team, there's a sense that you guys knew something like this was coming.
We didn't know, but we hoped, because we knew that this could be a chance. You know, weather changes when it gets wet out there, especially with these cars on these tracks, things can get mixed up. And when you're anyway struggling and you know, have had a couple of tough months, you kind of hope for some unforeseen action, and the wet weather normally brings that. To be honest, I didn't know that it was gonna go that well, but I had a decent feeling on the few laps we did in the wet in Valencia at the official test. So happy that kind of got confirmed.
Just talk us through what you're seeing on the monitor now. This is your lap.
Yeah, a nice and slippery lap around Berlin. I mean, the difficult thing around here is that with the weather constantly kind of, you know, there's no consistent rain. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. You only get this one lap in the duels.
A lot of standing water out there?
Yeah, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. You know, in the groups, when cars are running consistently, you get kind of that line that where there's nearly no standing water. But in the duels, especially when you're the first car, because I had both situations now, especially when you're the first car, you're the one drawing that line around the track. And I was surprised how difficult that made things compared to when you're running in the group, for example.
You feel it?
Yeah,
it's coming.
I imagine.
Dancing every time you don't look at him, he's dancing.
I imagine you guys are really happy to feel this rain now. In the race today, if it continues to be this wet, the race could be flat out, right? So not so much energy saving. How do you think your chances are this afternoon?
If it stays like that, I think we have good chances because, like Nico said, from FP3, from the first lap, we were both quick, and this gives me a good feeling also for the race. On the other side, if it's drying up, it will be difficult for us because some Jaguars behind us, some Porsche are behind us, but currently we're enjoying the current situation, and then in half an hour we start focusing on the race. So.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, brilliant. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We're all elated for you. I mean, your smiles have illuminated the dark skies here in Berlin. So thank you very much for that, and all the best for the race this afternoon. Right, Nikki is with Nick Cassidy.
Nick Cassidy, if you could just explain to us what happened in your quarter-final quali lap, because it was discounted, but why, from your perspective?
Yeah, I've been disqualified for changing power mode initially, which they said was too early. So you're allowed to change in sector 3 on your outlap, not before, I think it's worded. And I've started my lap in a lower power and changed halfway through, which I thought was a bit of a loophole in the rule. I guess I've probably exploited that too far. I think I wasn't the only car, but I've been picked up on it. So yeah, look, we've got to look at the rules and discuss. Obviously it wasn't allowed. I thought it was. A bit too late to complain about it now.
And what's the benefit of obviously waiting as late as possible to switch it up to the 350?
I didn't even plan to initially. I didn't start the lap very well, and I thought, well, I had nothing to lose in terms of, okay, I need to use the higher power for the straights. But yeah, it is what it is.
Still from P8. Race can be won from P9, so good luck. Thanks very much, Nick Cassidy.
Well, let's go on board with Nick Cassidy and show what he was talking about. So as he comes out of turn 5, watch his hands here, the light's flashing. He's really struggling for grip, trying to put the power down. But when he gets on this straight, you'll see on the dashboard, and I'll show you here in a second, there, he moves his hand off the wheel, there, push through 50. That's when he's gone into the 350 mode. Now, initially, we thought that might have been on the outlap, but he's actually done it halfway around his time lap, as he said. There's an argument there in terms of the rules. Obviously, nothing he could do about it now, but it's interesting. Just with the lack of traction, lack of grip, he thought it was better on the lower power mode for the early part of the lap.
All right, nice one, Karun. I'll tell you what, Oliver, it's freezing.
It is freezing.
Not only is it wet, it's cold.
It's the worst combination to go out there as a racing driver.
Especially for a Florida boy.
Yeah, I'm not used to this.
No?
I've got some Swedish blood.
All right, okay.
But yeah. Happy to be within this garage at the moment.
Yeah, so if it stays like this, you were talking earlier on to the guys from App Cupra, that it could play in their favour, but they've got some darn good teams behind them. I mean, the Jaguar boys are going to be hungry, especially in particular Sam Bird losing out in the duels as well. Sam Bird not making the duels, so they've got a point to prove after yesterday's performance. And then you've got Pascal Wehrlein, who really wants to mount up those points because, you know, he's got a chasing pack who are hungry.
Yeah, the difference here is that Pascal has everything to lose, and these guys behind us have absolutely nothing to lose, right? They're at the bottom of the standings. Obviously, they do have a fantastic shot today. They can't be silly. But starting on the front row, it's going to be playing in their favor today, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And have you looked at the weather radar? Have you any idea? We should have to.
I'm old school. I just look at the sky, and it's not looking happy. So
no, it's not at all. It really is.
These guys are looking happy. To see that?
Yeah, just quickly before we go off air, let's talk about that little bit of a ding-dong-do, shall we say, between Sebastian Buemi and Nick Cassidy. How often do those things happen?
What, as far as the butting heads within the team? I think it's very common. Two top drivers, you're always comparing yourself against the other guy in the garage.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out a little bit later on. And please do join us for the race, round 8, here in Berlin a little bit later on. We'll see you then.
Formula E returns to its longest-serving race circuit. We are back in Berlin. The race stage is set at Tempelhof Airport. Are you ready to be electrified? As we approach the halfway point of Season 9.
Boys, what have we just done?
Yes!
Congrats, everybody.